So, hello, my name is Mordred Viking, and I'd like to welcome you to this world-building stream. You may notice that we are in a different place. This is the Digital Dragons channel as opposed to my Mordred Viking channel, because, frankly, I am flipping exhausted, and this is probably going to be a shorter stream. We did finish the EU4 multiplayer, the EU4 campaign last week, and I wasn't really in the mood to play another game, then do this, so I'm just going to do the world-building. And we'll stick it here on the Digital Dragons channel. So that is the plan, and that's why we're here. Silver Archon, thank you very much for the follow. Trips, how you doing? Reggie Stark, thank you very much. Oh, thank you. Thank you for coming. There you go. Hello. Wow, you can tell I am not with it today. So, what are we working on at the moment? Well, the short answer to that is we are trying to work on the Pantheon for our world, which of course looks like this at the moment. Although there is actually another faction that I'll probably stick over here. I might actually put them in this. Ooh, you know what? Let's do that first while I have this in mind. Because there was another one which... a playable race which was announced with the new Spelljammer books which are due to be released. And that is the Three Keen, which are the insectoid race. And they are apparently most comfortable in savanna and deserts, which sounds very much like this region. And what I'm thinking is they start out next door to the gnolls and the infernals and then basically get kicked out, particularly by the time that the tieflings come in. They probably go through the desert and then end up over here as another faction. They may even be like in a clash against the desert lizard men. In fact, maybe the desert lizard men are related to the Three Keen. Maybe the desert lizard men are the Three Keen. Maybe I want to start them down here. No, I still like the idea that they begin in this area and then are pushed out. And then basically make the desert their home until the Trinkali come in and cause even more problems. These guys are going to be up against it, like, constantly. I could definitely see them, like, inhabiting kind of this region, eventually. Maybe a little further. No, Trinkali is probably going to be down here, especially with the silver mines, because that was going to be a big part of their nation, was the silver mining slave trade. Maybe I will do that. Maybe I'll make the desert lizard men the Three Keen. Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. So we need to come up with a new layer. 3 Keen. And we need to have a colour for these. It's going to be some form of yellow. Probably a little darker brown. Let's go lighter. Needs to stick out is the only thing. So if we start them out up here, particularly in the hills and the mountains, and here in the desert, so have them kind of in this area. And fairly early on, they'll be attacked and moved out by the gnolls, most likely. Let's have them out here too. There you go. And then we need to say, you guys are like so. And we need to type in your name, which is done on the... Actually, it doesn't matter. Why is your name not this size? It needs to be size 100. There we go. And I can see the Three Keen actually being one of the older cultures. Which is why it's going to be an interesting conflict against the gnolls. And this will actually give the gnolls a bit of a reason to go west instead of east. Because these guys are going to be in their way. And they are pretty good fighters. So actually what I'm thinking now for the Three Keen is maybe have them like all the way out to here. One colour. And a little bit in the desert. Where they've just been expanding. Because I do like the idea that the cultures down here are just older than the northern ones. They weren't quite so beset by the cataclysm. Or else they recovered earlier. That's probably the official history. So they started out being in a really nice, lush area. Oops. Where is that disconnected? Shouldn't be. Oh, yes it is. Gotta do this. Then you can do this. Aha! And I'm going to say that they're not at this point establishing themselves into cities. They're still pretty spread out. I don't think that they're a hive mind, are they? 5E, 3 keen. That's not 5E. Green. There's an R in it. Form of telepathy. I mean, the interesting thing is, because these are also kind of extraterrestrial, they may even have snuck through the portal with the Infernals. That would suggest that they're from the same place as the Infernals, which I'm not necessarily sure is what I want to do. Also, we considered something a bit more about what the Infernals are all about. Let's just do a quick refresher on that, because I don't remember either. Was that under Pantheon? What was that? Origins? Yes. Infernal race, use 9 layers of hell as an inspiration. No, that wasn't it. That's the old version. Okay, maybe we didn't actually settle on what the Infernals are. I have a feeling that's the case. Like, we have a pretty good idea of what the Celestials and the Asam are. Still not sure about the Infernals. I haven't had that flash of inspiration yet. That is something that is still going to have to happen. So, is there anything that we want to put on here about the 3 Kreen, actually? I think they're probably outsiders. I think they probably are just native. Are they in an area with particularly high levels of magic? Maybe they came from here, then moved northwards in their primitive form. So they're actually from the Salt Plains. Actually evolved in the Salt Plains, but found life easier in the north, so they moved there. En masse at some point in history. Telepathic due to the what's it called? Promescence. In the Salt Flats. Are we still talking about the gods or what? We started talking about the gods, then I went, oh yeah, hang on, there was a race I wanted to put down here. Which we have now done. So we've got the 3 Kreen here, we'll have the Trinkali coming up. I am going to reduce the Lizardmen. I don't think that... I liked the idea that the Lizardmen evolved a little bit in the desert, but now that we've got this Rakshasa, Naga conflict, I don't need them in the desert anymore. I just don't. Because the whole point of the desert was that was basically how they became a civilized society, because they started building stuff. They don't need to do that anymore. And I was struggling a little bit to kind of see the point. I mean, they could well be a little bit out here and then get pushed back. You know what? I like that more. So let's see. Let's say that they've kind of come out to here. Maybe starting to inhabit a little bit of the desert along the coast. Like so. Alright, cool. Yeah, I like that a heck of a lot more. Let's get rid of this bit. Give it a slightly more natural border. Like, why are you sticking out so much? You don't need to be. There we go. Cool. Save. So we got the Leonin, we got the Rakshasa, we got the Nagas, we got the Lizardmen, we got the Three Kreen, we got the Trinkali, we got the Gnolls, we got the Infernals, we've got the Tieflings when they eventually arrive, and we got the Salamanders. This area is suddenly becoming a lot more interesting. Oh, and the Lamia. Totally forgot about the Lamia as well. And that's all before the Southern Humans arrive. Am I going to have the GIF? Yes, they'll be further south. The GIF will be alongside the elephant creatures whose name I've forgotten. If so, I saw an idea on Twitter to have a splinter faction that pronounced it the GIF. And Tabaxi as well, yes. So there's still more races that come from the southern island, or southern continent rather, which I still haven't quite decided how it's going to be shaped. I kind of think it probably is kind of out like this. So it's going to be kind of a fusion of Proto-India and Proto-Africa. Because we've already got like North Africa and Central Africa here. So we still need India. We need Southeast Asia. China, which is where the Dragonborn are from. They're probably all kind of out here. So the full size of the world is something like this. And then there is the new world out here, which is Atlantis, which is where the orcs are from. Which sinks, and then I'm thinking actually comes back again once the orcs are gone. Whether it's because it's actually like a giant turtle or something like that that just got tired of these guys on his back, sank down, orcs clambered off, and then he came back up again. I don't know. It felt like a kind of interesting idea. Anyway, that is not what we were going to talk about today. Today we were going to take a look at the Pantheons, because I'd really like to try to get a little bit more done for these, because this is where I struggle the most. So I am very open to ideas, concepts, and suggestions. So we've had a few. So let's just go through what we've got at the moment. We've got Nin, who is the god of science, logic, medicine, time, travel, and portals. He's known as the Doctor, the Lord of Change, the Philosopher, or the Lord of Time. He is true neutral, as inevitable and merciless as time itself. And it's kind of in the same way as, like, he's as inevitable as progress. So he's also probably the god of progress, which is why he's linked to science and logic. He lives in a hall of doors leading to new possibilities. He is found in many different places, often as a doctor or an apothecary, and his symbol is the pavinated eye. Then we've got Danica, the Ascended One, the Law Keeper, the Lady of Learning, and the Living Library. Her mind is a library of all the collected wisdom and knowledge of the ages. She can call upon any of it, but only if the right question is asked. In death, the priest's knowledge lives on through her, their collective memories and knowledge merging with the Living Library. And her symbol is a clockwise spiral. Then this is actually an idea that I had after that, where we have an Ascendant. And the Ascendant is kind of like the Oracle. They are the avatar of Danica. They're a living entity who are linked to the Living Library. So previously it was said that all priests are. I think we're going to have one person. And this person is probably relatively rare. They are mortal. They have their own needs, desires, and most importantly, biases. But they do possess access to the library in its entirety. The current Ascendant is the Ascendant Wanderer, kind of an Elementor figure from Baldur's Gate, who is someone with no domicile. They just wander around. So it's very much the, "Ho there, stay a while and indulge an old man" type person who just appears sometimes, answers a few questions, then wanders off again. And people don't really realise who he is. And I was thinking that they'd be a turtle, because by law, turtles are wanderers. They very, very rarely stay in one place, and I think it makes sense that the Wandering Ascendant is a turtle. I'm so glad that pavinated is just a word we use regularly now. Yeah, Chaos Gemini has really corrupted us with that one. And then we have got the god of air, weather and storms, which is the hungering vulture, nemesis of the fisher, and is always trying to steal souls from the ocean. And he is really the root of the deep fear of the deep ocean. Then we have Churlish, who is the god of mischief, trickery and cunning, and he's constantly trying to steal the moon. We have Burleth the brewer, who is the god of travel, curiosity, adventure and brewing. A jovial, large-bearded man on a quest to discover the ultimate brew, probably derived from the Dwarven pantheon. We have Iduash the flawless, who is the god of art, craftsmanship and good intentions. And then we have the Fisher of Souls, who is actually probably like the most powerful of them all. Who is the god of death, rebirth, and is the keeper of the Ocean of Souls. And whenever a sentient being is born, he basically stabs into the Ocean of Souls with his trident, grabs one of the souls, and then that is who is implanted in the new mortal corpse, body, material thing. Then we've got the Hobgoblin god, who is the god of martial skill, discipline, and life duty. Hobgoblin term for life and duty is the same word. They are stoic, have a large shield and spear, no armor, depends on his allies to protect him. And there was probably a prior god of warfare who was defeated by this Hobgoblin god. Possibly they are the Alexander Hobgoblin deified. Dragons are themselves effectively gods of wealth and life, although they are definitely not on the same level. They'd be demigods. The legendaries, at least, or the ancients. Wait, he's a god. Actually, in Icewind, he's not. In Icewind, he is definitely not. He is a... Well, I'm not going to tell you, because you don't know what he is. Actually, he's told you. He's a djinn. He's basically one of the genie Khans of the hybrids. There are various hybrids that live outside of the earth, fire, water, and air, and he is a hybrid of air and earth. Then we've got the afterlife, which is the Ocean of Souls. Then one of the suggestions that came up through the chat was loyalty, fair payment, and contracts, which is an Atlas-like god of endurance and loyalty who goes dormant and becomes a mountain. Eventually, a cutthroat, backstabbing mercenary company builds their fort on top of it, and over time, the ideals of mercenary life and also loyalty and honor merge together, and basically that god is reborn. So this is one of those nice examples of a god coming back to life after having for some time been forgotten, and basically becomes the god of loyalty, fair payment and contracts, and quite possibly the god of like business, because a large part of business contact are contracts, and this would be the god that kind of enforces that, and his paladins in particular. Popular amongst both kings and mercenaries. Kings like he calls on the subjects to be totally loyal, but he always has to pay and act fairly in return. And the mercenaries are charged to fight to the last man, never surrender in the name of those they have signed a contract with, but they expect a just and fair payment for their actions. And he is probably fairly diametrically opposed to whoever the god of wealth and greed is, who isn't necessarily the same thing. I don't think this would be the god of wealth, though. He's not that materialistic. It is just good business. Churlish being a god is too good. Like, that was one of the things that just arose out of that. I just had this image of Churlish being basically the second moon, and he's just constantly mooning the world, and he thinks it's hilarious. In this, I'm being a little bit less childish and saying that he's constantly trying to steal the moon, but I think that Churlish just makes sense as a god of mischief, trickery, and cunning. And I've already been talking to Evil by Moonlight about having a god of the moon. But the other ones are still available. Magic, dreams, imagination, law, order, civilization, wealth, greed. There it is. Justice and honor. I mean, justice and honor could potentially, at least honor, could be rolled into this. And there can be some places where gods' realms overlap, and I think they actually should in some ways. Then we've got darkness, secrets, and shadow. Sun, fire, water, oceans, and sailing. Ice, winter, and cold. Earth, fertility, growth, chaos, life. Death, memory, history. Love, beauty, and knowledge and wisdom. Oh, knowledge and wisdom we have now. That's Danica. I just realised we haven't actually said what she is the god of. Are these gods shared between many cultures under different names? Yes. There will be some differences. I'm just working on like the humano-centric pantheon at the moment because it's all I've got space for in my brain. The other ones will emerge eventually, I am sure. I just want to have something that we can start to like pluck at in terms of threads in the game. Like I actually had one idea. Oh, what was it? Right, it was the Ascendant. There's basically a place like the Oracle at Delphi, which is a place saturated with old memories. It's kind of a place haunted by banshees and wraiths and stuff like that, where you can go to get answers. It's like a place of divine inspiration, but it's the former home of one of the previous Ascendants. And it's just one of those places in the world that we can put somewhere. Which is another thing. Is there a tab which is landmarks? Because there should be. Map ideas? That's the disasters and stuff. Let's start a new article. Landmarks. So, landmarks we have already. We have got the World Wound. Which is the connection between the homeland, Dwarven Realms. Created by a Tarask. Which is why there's a tunnel in the Middle Ages. Like we're talking Swiss Alps traversal tunnel built in the Middle Ages. Impossible with medieval technology. But a Tarask just dug a hole, because there's a frickin' Tarask and they can do that. And then the dwarves were like, you know what, that's a useful hole. Let's just use it, now it's gone. Then we've got the Oracle, which is a former residence of an Ascendant. Saturated with the spirits of knowledge. Those who brave these haunted ruins can seek out divine guidance, but it is very dangerous. Wraiths, banshees, etc. Place of madness. Great. Okay, that's useful to have. Let's make sure that those are public and not drafted. Is that public? That's public. Yeah. Right, going back to the races. Yeah, Pantheon. God of Law. Yeah, we definitely need one. So that would be God of Law, Order, and Civilization. Which in, like, Norse mythology would be Tyr. And I think in Faerun is Tyr as well. And one thing I really do like the idea of here is the one-handed god. His priests are expected to chop off a hand. A sign of devotion. What exactly the story about that in our world is, I don't know. In Norse mythology, Tyr, as a promise to Fenrir to say, we're not going to be bounding and collaring you, I will put my hand in your mouth while the dwarves put this lovely scarf around your neck. And it is a really nice scarf. And the proof of the fact that we're not trying to manipulate you right now is the fact I got my frickin' hand in your mouth. Of course, the gods were trying to collar Fenrir. And as soon as the hound realised, chomp, bit off the god's hand, which is why Tyr has only one hand. Which is why he's not the god of justice, he's the god of law and order. He's trying to bring order to this hound's madness and chaos. And I guess the sacrifice he makes is a reference to the sacrifices that mankind must make and the sacrifices the world must make in order to accommodate the humanoid races or something like that. Oh yeah, the Haunted Wister. That's a really good one. Yeah. Landmarks. Let's also say no location yet. Former Remescence mines on the sea facing cliffs of the Shield Mountains. Likely kept the gnomes safe and secure inside because other people did not want to get close to such an obviously haunted locale. And what we're talking about here are the mountains, which are these. So you can see that there is a massive promescence source. And basically what's happened is people used to sail up this coast in order to harvest promescence, and they just fashioned a whole series of tunnels. And the wind now whistles through those tunnels, making it sound like they're haunted. It's just one of those things that used to be common and kind of got forgotten by the ages. And turned into a fisherman's tale. Loyalty and honor aren't necessarily the same. Yeah, that's true. I think I just called it honor because the god was the god of honor until he kind of realized, huh, it's nice to get paid. I guess it's because he was the god of endurance and loyalty. I don't know necessarily why he's the god of endurance. Landmark would be the original mercenary mountain. That's true. If it's mercenary, it's probably hobgoblin. In fact, almost certainly is. Of course, the hobgoblins are the premier mercenaries. I mean, it makes sense. I actually like the idea that we're starting to get a list of gods which are hobgoblin and one or two which are dwarven. Like, I would like for the general pantheon to draw in 2 or 3 from the different races in order to create, like, a centralized pantheon, which all of those around the central lake would probably be familiar with. Though we will, at some point, need to go back and say, okay, these are the full elven pantheon. These are the gods that were kind of forgotten, and these are the ones that kind of were mixed in and became hybridized with the human gods. Just because I like the idea of Atlas and endurance and loyal to the end. Have to be able to last if you want to stand to the bitter bloody end. Yeah, I just don't really see him as being so physical. Like, if he's loyalty isn't necessarily physicality. Loyalty is stubbornness, more than anything. Oh yeah, I guess that should be a landmark as well, though it's already technically on the map. We have the Ice Oasis. Ancient White Dragon. Now the capital of the Carthage Dwarves. Hey, Foxen. Location of the library. Library is not a structure. I mean, if we want to have something like the Great Library, which is probably the Great Temple of the Ascendant, maybe. Or rather of Danica. Oh, I have another pantheon here. In Misk. And that's another god that we have. Haha! Alright, let's copy that. Let's delete you. Go back to races. Go back to pantheons. So he's one of the really ancient ones. He's the one that gets murdered. That's a tear-like figure. So I also have some ideas for Shadow, Darkness and Secrets, but considering what's happening in the Icewind campaign at the moment, I don't really want to elaborate. That would definitely be realm of spoilers. An Ice Winter Cold could certainly be something Oral related. I actually quite like Oral as an entity. When I first started running the Icewind Dale campaign, I really struggled. Like, the goddess of winter and beauty? What? But the more I've been kind of playing Icewind, the more I get it. No, I want specifically the Lost Library, or the Oracle Library, to be a ruin. It's a place sought out by adventurers or by people who are generally wanting information about a specific subject. I think it's a cool location for adventurers to visit. Talking about freshwater river god that's all about trading, no other reason than holy bass. Yeah, but wasn't really drawn to that one, I'm afraid. So this one would very much be kind of a Gaia figure, Mother Nature. There was another one which I thought we should have. In fact, there's two. Wow, we're missing two obvious ones. War, plague, and disease. I'm also aware of the fact that we are getting a lot of freaking gods right now, which I would like to centralize them a little. I mean, it's what we probably have is like the central pantheon and then the also rans. So the central one should probably be about 7. Which would be like the major religions. So there, the Zeuses, the Thors, the Freyas. Oh, here's where we were talking about the Infernals. Minions of the Fisher of Souls. That's what it was. Yeah, I remember now. They are basically entities from the void. There to keep the souls where they're meant to be, beholden to the cycle of rebirth, but hating resurrected beings, would actively hunt down those who had been resurrected in order to return their soul to the ocean and to end the lives of those who were supposed to be dead, for example, liches and vampires. And then the demons are the predators in the Ocean of Souls. Devoured souls become twisted and demonic themselves. And the Infernals, part of the Infernal job, and this is part of like the Abyss versus the Devil's conflict, is the demon, or the Infernals are there to stop the demons killing the souls. God of messengers like Hermes. I feel like that could be rolled into like Burleths. I'm actually really curious, well, what would the 7 big entities be now? The Fisher, obviously. It's probably one of the most central. Like, what would... I mean, the central pantheon would also do a lot to determine the core traits of our North humans, South humans. We should probably also determine it for the elves. Because religion drives a lot of that. So, northern humans. Let's start with this. So we're going to work out like the 7 main traits of the northern humans. So adventure is the big one for them. Probably magic, considering how close to the Feywild they are. Or at least like nature. Oh, nature. Oops. Northern nature. No. Adventure. nature. Make sure you have a lot of gods and you can pick the 5 to 8 main ones of each. Or you start with the 5 to 8 main ones and then you create the gods out of that. With 1 or 2 crossovers. So, southern humans. This would definitely be fertility and growth. Life. We'll just call it life. They're very agricultural. Smithing? I'm not sure they are, not at this stage. Smithing is probably more elven. Elves, I would actually say, is craft. Probably the dwarves, too. Elves would be war, thanks to their conflict with the Minotaurs. And the Giants. I mean, the northern humans probably are life as well. I mean, it's nature life. So the northern humans are probably more chaotic life, and the southern humans are probably less so. Hunting, yeah. Yeah, that's a good one. River. I think that should be a river, and I think that the elves should also be a river. Dwarves should probably be other mountains. Yeah, for sure. So we wanted to have, what was it, 7 traits. Currently got between 2 and 3. What other ones do we have? Magic, dreams, imagination, not really at this stage. Science, logic, medicine, again, not really. Knowledge, wisdom, written word, education. I mean, I feel like that would probably be more of the southern humans, maybe the elves. Law, order, and civilization. Civilization would actually, order would be the elves. I feel like the elves would have a very ordered society. Because they were the first society that centralized. Freedom. I mean, I could kind of see that for the northern humans. I would kind of put that under adventure, though. I feel like the northern humans probably would have a god of the sea. More so, well, much more so than the south. Yeah, north probably is the ocean. Ocean/sailing. No, we'll say specifically ocean. What other ones do we have? Wealth, greed, justice, honor, moon, darkness, secrets, shadow, sun, fire. I mean, southern humans, possibly sun or fire, because they're not that much further south, though. Sun and fire would be more likely to be these guys. Lizard men. Water, ocean, sailing, that's the north. Ice, winter, cold, neither. Air, weather, storms? Neither, really. Earth, fertility, growth, chaos, life, we've already got. Death, memory, history. I could definitely see the north becoming like memory. Because they want to remember their great deeds. I'm finding it much easier to write the north humans than the southern ones. And this is also partially because I know what's going to happen to them. They get basically wiped out by the goblins. And they want to have a memory of where they were. Home and family, probably for the south. Yeah, alright. Hearth. I think that was a good word. Which is interesting, because that's a very halfling trait, and yet the halflings are derived from the north. Oh, northern would probably be safety and sanctuary. Because they're going to be in constant conflict with the Feywild. And other entities. I'm going to say the dwarves are also order. Because they're also going to centralize pretty quickly. Community and charity. Community I could definitely see. No, community is a better word. Society. You already have a god of wisdom knowledge. Yeah, but it's a different type of wisdom. Curiosity, again, I'm putting curiosity under adventure. The god of adventure is going to be the god of curiosity. And that is actually Berleth. So we need to have a human-like character who well, I mean, it could still be a big bearded man. It just happens to look more like a dwarf as they come into contact with the dwarves. Although I was also kind of thinking the god of adventure for the northern humans would be a sailor. Kind of links them a bit more to the ocean. Honor might be good for the south as well. I'll give them a southern genteel vibe. Maybe? That's like a core trait, I'm not sure about that. That would be more like the Leonin, which is how they differentiate themselves from the Lamia. In fact, you know what? I'm going to add that. Isn't the South going to be Fantasy Franks? I mean, yeah. Yeah, I guess. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they would have a very chivalric order. I mean, they probably would. But is that more because of it's a way of organising the society, or is it because of some innate martial justice scheme? I mean, actually, you know what? Southern I could see as being justice instead of law. So we've got the dwarves and the elves who are very much ordered, then the southern humans are very much justice. I can kind of see the northern humans being justice. No, I'm going to keep that as southern. That's actually going to come into play later on when the elves have taken out the Minotaurs and the ogres. Because then we have the elven human wars, and I was thinking that was going to be against the northern humans. That might actually be against the southern ones. Or at least the boat people who basically call on their southern cousins. Because that's going to be mostly a southern conflict, because the dwarves get involved in that one for like the first time. That is... Where's the timeline? It's post-Bronze Age collapse. Yeah, here. The Elven Resurgence in 600 BC. They get conquered by the Minotaurs, then just 12 years later they gain independence, they retake all of their lands, like 30 years after that. Then they go on to conquer the Minotaur lands, and then boom, Human-Elven Wars. Like, they're on a roll during this era. It's like the Elven Golden Age. And then eventually you have the Minotaurs, the humans, the ogres, and the Middle Dwarves ganging together to halt Elven expansion. New World again, or same old New World? Same one. Hasn't changed. Still this one. And actually, you know what? I think that this is a pretty good starting point for divining the culture of each of these. So then if we have the gods of each, actually, in a weird way, you could see a link between the dwarven god of crafting and the human god of adventure. Because it's also curiosity, it's inspiration, it's almost going on to art. Or at least artisan. No. I'm going to make that memory. And actually the dwarves will have God of Magic. Probably more than the others. It will become a bit of a cautionary tale about magic. Which is another good one. So we got Magic Dreams Imagination, but we should also have Magic Excess. Dwarven warning about diving too deep. They're both over creativity, but they're different gods, like Zeus and Poseidon having control over the storms. Yeah, there you go. Good example. This is actually really helpful. Working out like the core tenets of an entire society based on their religion. Because you can definitely see that, like in the Western world, you've got Christian values. In the Middle East, you've got Islam. In the Far East, you've got like Confucianism and Buddhism. Like they definitely have a huge impact on the makeup of society. Just Japan, you got Shintoism. So having this as like a basis, a cultural touchstone, is going to be really helpful. What magic for the dwarves? Remember, it's dwarves that discover arcane magic. Like everyone up until that point is sorceress magic. And that basically leads to a series of dwarven, not exactly liches, but wizard kings. Here, the Dwarven Punic Wars. The Dwarven Lich Lords, there we go, that's what I called them. First of all, they're known as Archmages, but eventually they become Lich Lords. Which also means that the undead are probably in the Dwarven realms first. Like, it's very much a situation of they screwed themselves. And that's also what awakens the World Wound. World Wound, that's who the god is. I mean, the Tarask for the dwarves is 100% one of their gods. It has such ridiculous strength that it's got to be. And that's why they're terrified of arcane magic now. Which is why you don't get very many dwarven wizards. Pantheons, here we go. Magic excess. Tarask. Yeah, we probably should do a list for the Minotaurs as well. You're not wrong. Let's get that under the elves. Minotaurs. So Minotaurs would be war, subjugation. Well, no, not necessarily craft, because the basis of Minotaur society is actually on building and construction. And then eventually metalwork, which is how they early on beat the ogres, because they got metal and the ogres don't. We'll deal with the Goliaths later. They're like very much a side show, kind of similar as the Aarakocra. I'm even going to say construction. I'm going to double down on crafting and construction. They have two different entities. Both of them similar, maybe kind of the duality of the two. What else? I mean, river, water, which would make them a bit more mercurial. Strength. I don't know that they would be attached to the river in the same way that the elves and the southern humans are. Which is weird, because their society grew up along this river, but it's kind of like the difference between France and Egypt. Egypt's very much about the river. France, they just build cities along it, like Paris is in the middle of the Seine. Would you necessarily say the French are a particularly river-loving people? Stereotypically? In fact, I'm not even going to make it the god of war, I'm going to make it the god of conquest. Metalworking, I'm putting that under craft. London's built along a river. Are the English river loving? I wouldn't say so. Not until the canals appeared, and that's not until the 1800s. British were more defined by their island situation than their rivers. Even though all of the big cities are built on rivers. London, Manchester, York, Lancaster. Birmingham probably is. Actually, no. What river is Birmingham on? No. Closest would be the Severn, but even that's quite a long way away. Huh. Well, Birmingham is an anomaly. There you go. How about martial prowess, personal combat? I would say that comes under strength. Strength is a bad word. Dominance. Or superiority. Something like that. Birmingham is an anomaly. Mordred 2022. Hey, you can quote me on that. Wrath, I don't see the Minotaurs as being angry. I think that is one trope I want to get away from. They are not berserkers. They are not rage-filled. But then again, bulls are pretty angry. Maybe they should be. Image of a chain god, like how the Greeks had to keep Ares chained at all times. And he gives him a link to the god of craft and metalwork. Control, domination, influence, power? Again, power just has different insinuations and interpretations. I think dominance really is the right one. Subjugation. It kind of falls under conquest. It's like conquest's younger brother. Minotaurs should love gardening. They're so angry they've got to have an outlet to relax and center themselves. You know, I'm not against that. Although with the maze, like the labyrinth wasn't a hedge maze. It was underground. Oh, how the hell do you spell labyrinth? Like that. I don't mean the film. I just mean generally labyrinths. Yeah, whenever I think like Minotaur's Labyrinth, there's always stonework, which again is construction. Yeah, sorry. It's a nice idea, but that's where construction comes in. Oh yeah, I understood you meant physical strength. That's why I'm kind of saying dominance. It's physical superiority over others. Minotaur cities could be built like labyrinths as a form of defense. I would think that their defenses probably are labyrinthine because they do have a lot of internal conflict before they come into contact with the elves. Like, they're pretty clan-based. I think that's good enough. Like, that gives us a really good idea of how the Minotaurs are. So I'm not having any flashes of inspiration for any of the other pantheons, domains right now. So if you guys have any other ideas, then please do let me know. I'm curious. You know what? I'm going to say that the Tarask is the literal dwarven god of magic excess. Which are left? I mean, the big ones: magic, dreams, imagination, law, order, civilization. Though we have a little bit about him, we could probably do with more. Wealth, greed, justice, honor. We have nothing for justice and honor. The moon, though I think that the moon's going to come. Darkness, secret, shadow. I have an idea for those, so don't worry about that too much. The sun, fire, water, ocean, sailing. That's another big one. Ice, the winter, cold. Earth, fertility, growth, chaos, and life. I'm going to remove that. That's not helpful at the moment. Death, memory, history, war, plague, disease, love, beauty, luck, fortune. Do we have a giant eldritch space slug that controls people? Not yet. Would they worship fire? Not sure they would. No, they have no volcanoes. The nearest ones are over here. That would be kind of a Vulcan thing. Volcanoes and crafting. I don't really see that for the Minotaurs. I think their crafting would be somewhat different. I mean, their crafting and the construction is probably two different facets, the same character. I mean, mountains maybe. They do have mountains here. And the mountains do become very important to them. Like earth, as in the element. The ground, stone. Again, stone goes with construction though. And crafting. Heck, it could even go with dominance. Gnolls, greed, opportunism, secrets, cruelty, fire, plunder, loyalty. We'll tackle the gnolls when we actually tackle the gnolls. I don't want to focus too much on them yet because I don't do much yet. Kind of the same as the lizardmen. Well, that's not true. Ever since we came up with the Naga-Rakshasa rivalry, I feel like the lizardmen have actually become a lot more fleshed out. Did we ever write that? I'm not actually sure that we did. Yes, we did. The Nagas embrace and support the lizardmen, raising the culture and sentience to create the first post-precursor civilization. Rakshasa, jealous of this, begin to manipulate the Nagas and create a rift, the Guardians versus the Spirits. Eventually, the Guardians win out, exiling the Spirits, who head north with their followers, eventually meeting the humans. This results in magical experimentation to create new armies and thus the Yuan-Ti. The Rakshasas created the Leonin and Lamia in their image and used them as puppets to play against each other, until they discovered it was far more fun to mess with the Naga. Therefore, Rakshasa and Naga hate each other, both Spirit and Guardian. Like, the one thing that can probably get Spirit and Guardian Naga to unite are Rakshasa. And then the Rakshasa buggered off east, eventually ending up in fake India. And let's not joke about that bookworm. Wow, Leonin are long-lived. $80 to 100 years. Huh. Fair enough. Do you have someone for ecstasy and festivities like Dionysus Bacchus? No. Definitely an elf. I mean, one thing that we could do with Earth, Fertility, Growth, Chaos and Life is basically something along the concept of the world tree, where the roots continue to grow and grow and grow and expand, then eventually they become like brambles. And if they're not contained by the god of civilization effectively, then they'll grow to take over the whole world, eventually choking out life itself, blocking off the sun. Which is why it's chaotic growth, chaotic life. It's not inherently evil. Tai Feywild is one giant tree. Yeah, I like the idea of the tree. Certainly the symbol is a tree. With roots as long as the branches. So it's almost a circle. It's like the central trunk with branches on top and then roots underneath. Which could also be the circle of life. Tree in real life that sets up new trunks from its roots, so the Feywild could be like that. That's interesting. Feywild's all one tree. Which is why it's so picky whenever it gets attacked. I actually kind of like that. Hey, we have a section on this. It's called Landmarks. Here we go. Feywild. Actually, all one giant tree with new growth sprouting from the roots. Strawberry style. Because that's how strawberries grow. Don't really know how I'd be able to show you that, but trust me, it is. Basically, the branches spread along the ground grow roots themselves, then new plant sprouts out from there. I actually kind of like that idea. What would we call that? I don't want to steal Feywild for the entity. The Feywild is the geographical region. What would the god be called? And yeah, the Mycelium Information Highway. Mycelium, absolutely, as well. Combined with the worship of the Fey Elves leads it to the godhood. Mushroom Men in the Feywild. I kind of want to save that for somewhere else. Like, yeah, we could definitely have... Oh, what are they called? Sovereigns. The Spore People. But I don't want that in the Feywild. I think that's probably another Feywild-like entity somewhere else. The Vine. Myconids. That's the one. You know what? I'm going to add that to a landmark. Yeah, I like that. Given the Feywild's nature, probably has many different layers like jungles. Oh yeah! I mean, if you look at it on here, I've actually given it its own icon. Because it's such a weird place. Like if you zoom in, this is actually like super dense forest. Like you have regular forests, you have dense forests, then you have this. That's the Feywild. Like the sun in many places probably is literally blotted out. So maybe there are Myconid colonies underneath there in the darkness. That's what the Underdark is. Doesn't need to be underground. And then the mountains, like in here, because of the roots stretching through them, they're probably entire corridors. Like caverns and everything ground out by the roots. They'd be big frickin' roots. Which eventually die off, rot away, leaving caverns behind. Ooh, okay, the Feywild just got a lot more scary. And that could be some kind of corrupting influence from within. Alright, landmarks. I'm going to add that to the Feywild. I'm going to take this off. I don't want that. Underdark. the deepest, darkest parts of the Feywild. And this is not to say that there can't be more Feywilds around the world. And I think it would actually be kind of cool if there were. Alright, so the Underdarks. The deepest, darkest parts of the Feywild, where the tree canopy has blotted out the sun for centuries, decades. I'm glad that we have an Underdark. I've always been really unhappy about the Underdark being just random caves underground. I mean, there are some areas where that's feasible, like in chalk areas, where you have some acidic rain, it melts the chalk away, leaving caverns. That is feasible, that's how you get underground cavern systems. But to the same extent and size of the Underdark in Faerun? No, and then you actually get like entire cities being built under there. The amount of work it would take to carve out an underground city like that, it's just not worthwhile. Which is why the dwarves in this setting are not subterranean there. They dig down, sure, that's where the mines are, but their actual holds are not underground. Is the big angry... No, he would definitely be a landmark. Oh, I really like that interpretation of the Underdark. That's also how you like get the drow. So in this setting, it's the wood elves and the drow that hate each other. The drow basically being corrupted wood elves. Dryker's at it again. Yeah, I like that. Because I like the creatures of the Underdark. I think those are interesting. They're some of the most visceral and disturbing creatures in D&D. But I just didn't like the Underdark as an entity. But now we have a better way of doing it. And being in a forest makes a lot more sense for their big thing to be spiders. Exactly! Imagining a bustling Underdark city now lit up by soft blue glows as market vendors and stores carved and constructed from ancient roots hawk their strange wares. Precisely! It makes so much sense. Wood is so much easier to work than stone. What are the Driders then? Corrupted elves spiders. I mean, I don't think we would necessarily even need to drift that far away from Lolth. God of what? Like secrets and jealousy or something like that. Oh, this is a revelation. I'm so happy with it. This is a good idea. Having the Underdark basically being the darkest part of the Feywild is flipping genius. It's just where the canopy has gotten so thick the light doesn't penetrate it. Hey Frederick. What did you miss? You missed us do some work on the Pantheon. You missed us invent the Underdark. Mostly Pantheon stuff. We started dedicating like the top traits to the various major factions. And then from there we can basically determine what their major Pantheon is. So the Northern humans have gods of adventure, nature, hunting, ocean, memory, and sanctuary. Southern humans, life, river, hearth, community, justice. And that really starts to create a unified culture based on the religion for each of these. Like, obviously, they can change over time. That's why I'm leaving the commas here. But at this point, with the exception of the dwarves, because magic comes later, that's kind of where they're at. Cool. Alright, well, we've been going for... Actually, less time... Oh, I started at 9:30, didn't I? Alright, we'll keep going. Well, I'm feeling like I'm kind of running out of ideas here. So what I will do is... This is available to be found. If I can find how to look at it, I think it's that button. Here, so you can find all the details on the Pantheons. If you want to have a crack at your own ideas for some of these missing areas, then please do. I'll chuck that up on Discord. Made some more progress on the Pantheons. Take a look at the domains that are still underused and see if you have any more ideas. Unfortunately, the formatting is kind of garbage because it doesn't understand what a single line break like this means, which is kind of annoying. No access? Why? That's why. Okay, now you should. This is the annoying thing, because you have this public-private thing, and then you also have this published button. Both of them need to be correct. And then within that, you also need to make sure that the category is public and published. Feywild God should be one of duality. I mean, I think they already kind of are. No, you know what? Yeah, I agree. This is definitely like the highlights and the lowlights of life. This is why it's chaos. It's chaotic life. I think it really is just very well described as those three. I think Earth and Fertility probably less so. This is very much growth, chaos, and life. In fact, I think I might even take those two out. That's not so much to do with this entity anymore. This is growth, chaos, and life. Which means that we probably do need fertility, because that's just pretty much always a really important one. Like Freya, like... now I fail. What's the Greek one? Doesn't matter. Anyway, I think that is going to be it for me for today. Like I said when I started the stream, I'm flipping exhausted, so I'm going to take a break. I need a break. So this is where we're going to stop. Tomorrow is my day off, so there will not be a stream for that. Then I'll be back again on Friday, where the plan is to do some Solasta at 5, and then at 10 we've got Dwarf Romantic, which is now on Thursday releasing. They've given me some free codes to give out for there, and then afterwards we'll probably play some Anno, although that might instead be Dune Spice Wars. I might do that, because I also have some codes to give away for Dune. Then on Saturday we're doing Stellaris and Mountain Blade. Then that is it, probably for 2 to 3 weeks as I move to Sweden. It's getting close. Next Tuesday. It's getting very real. Aphrodite, that was it. Yeah. Anyway, like I said, that's all for me for now, so thanks everyone for watching. Hope you've enjoyed this. If you haven't done so already, hit that follow button on this channel so that you get notifications when the Digital Dragons are live. We usually play Dungeons & Dragons every Sunday night, midnight, GMT, going on until about 3 or 4 AM, but you can find the VODs there, and also upload them onto the Mordred Viking YouTube channel. And I probably will start doing more of this world building on this channel, because I want to use this to build it up. So yeah, that's going to be the plan going forwards, I think. Anyway, that's all for me for now. Thanks everyone for watching. All the best for the move. Thank you. Appreciate that. Gonna be good to come to Scandinavia, I'm sure. Yeah, I'm looking forward to moving to Scandinavia. The only thing is, Stockholm, get your housing market sorted out. Jeez, it's bad. Like, most of the listings will last less than 24 hours before they're snatched up. And when you're coming into this with, like, no valid ID because I don't have a Swedish ID number, no valid references because I don't have Swedish references, it's like, ah! And even getting to the stage where, like, yes, I accept this, still get contracts like, now we're going to give it to this guy instead. It's ridiculous. Anyway, that's all for me. Thanks everyone for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye bye.